All right.
Alright.
Show begins the very, very late Christmas episode.
The 2 days late Christmas episode.
How's life going for you?
It's fine.
Did you have a good Christmas?
Yeah, it went well.
Did you have family or friends over?
Family.
Yeah, we were gonna have family over, but everyone here except me has the flu, so that put
Oof.
a damper on those plans.
Wasn't the last time we talked your family had the flu?
Yes, that has not changed. Lauren is just feeling better and is still smug despite the fact she gave everyone the flu. So,
Ah, I see.
yeah. As for myself, I was doing mostly fine today, but then at lunch, I was eating one of those microwave burritos. Crust was very hard.
Where'd you get it
And
from?
I don't know, I think maybe ones. Uh,
Okay.
it was I tried to wolf down the last bit. However, it was too warm but it was at that point where you're half swallowing it, so you can't really stop it. And I swear to God, crust like sliced half my throat and half my the interior of my mouth. So now I feel like I have sore throat from a bean burrito.
That's
Less than
what
the
you
day.
get. That's what you get for eating a bean burrito.
What? It was a tasty one.
From the frozen section of Lutz.
So I regret nothing except
Oh,
for my throat.
yeah, now your throat hurts.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, lesson of the day, kids. Be careful about which bean burritos you try and swallow whole.
Wait, did we
It
start?
may put, yes, I want this in
Well,
the
we
episode.
we didn't do an introduction.
I think this is the introduction.
Oh, this is just you talking about your burritos, the introduction.
Yeah. Merry, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. It's well, let's pretend we're recording on Christmas.
Yep. And
It's
Merry
Sunday.
Christmas.
It's Sunday right now.
Hmm. My throat is
Not
unsliced.
not Tuesday.
Not at all.
What'd you get for
Anyway,
Christmas?
um, I got neon orange gloves since I was very cold outside. Not to mention, no one's ever going to steal them. So if ever I end up buried in the snow,
That's a fair
they'll at
point.
least be, yeah, they'll be.
You'll be
If
found.
I
You'll
end
be
up,
found.
yeah, if I end up buried in the snow, I mean, I may be dead, but they'll get to chop off my hands and say, "Hey, this was a cool guy."
No, it's
Like
you.
those
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know about cool guy if you're wearing those kind
yeah,
of
cool gloves.
gloves.
Hey, plenty of archaeologists dig up people's corpses and
The
like,
gloves
hey,
I have are all black and fuzzy.
everyone has black gloves. Not many
Yeah.
people have.
Well, I don't
Well,
like standing out.
I'm saying if a new ice age hits or something, and some archaeologist 1,000 years ago in the future digs up my corpse and your corpse, they're gonna remember me more because it was, hey, he's the orange glove guy. You know?
That's this feels like a conversation that you would see on Seinfeld.
Okay. All right. Well, let's try and get this more orderly. We're gonna stop talking about my bean-induced throat pain and let's see where's the list. All right. We last time gave each other a challenge to watch a Christmas movie, and it's time to review each other's choices in life.
So who's going first?
I think you should go first. You know, The Grinch, it's a childhood classic. So is Jim
Well,
Carrey.
all right. Well, I don't know about Jim Carrey. All right, so Duncan punished me by watching the 2000 remake of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Um, I had never seen this version before. I've seen the classic one from the 60s. And I've also seen the really bad 2018 one. But I'd
That
never
one.
seen this one. And
Isn't that one made by Illumination?
yep, it's not good. It's very useless, just like this movie. Um, the amount of pain to get through the whole 105-minute movie was a lot. It was a very painful movie to get through. It's really bad, and not even in a good way.
I hate to break it to you, but I unironically love that movie.
I'm like, well, I'll ask you about that in a minute, but let me just get through my thoughts on it first, and then I'll ask you about that. So, Jim Carrey as the Grinch is, on paper, not a bad choice. Because he's his previous movies, he's a very goofy guy. Except for Eternal Sunshine, which is the only good movie he's in. In this movie, though, he does not belong at all. It really sticks out like a sore thumb. Also, I'm just not a fan of the art style of the movie. It looks it looks nothing like a Dr. Seuss movie at all. It looks just like a mess. And actually, another thing to mention is there's, I mean, there isn't really a lot of good Dr. Seuss movies, if I'm being honest. Do you agree with that?
What do you define as a good Dr. Seuss movie?
So, I mean, there's the Lorax, which is probably the only one that's fine. Like I saw it in theaters as a kid, and from what I remember, it somewhat holds up. But thinking about other Dr. Seuss movies like Horton Hears a Who, there's just not a lot of good ones.
Orphan
Um,
Here's Who is now immortal because it had an emo boy. Don't you understand?
no. Um,
You don't
so,
remember the
so-
emo Who?
I don't remember anything about Horton Hears a Who.
I think you should rewatch it as well. It's
No, I
not a
should
good
not.
lesson.
I should not. Um, what else I have to say about there is not a lot to say about it. Because what I did is after watching, so I watched this on Christmas Eve, by the way, which is not a good idea. But afterward, I watched the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas from the '60s, the original shorts. And while I never really cared for it as much as a kid, I have much more of an appreciation for it now after watching the two really bad remakes of it. Um, I do have one. I have one good thing to say about this movie, and that is the fact it's one of the songs in the movie I think is really good. It's the Faith Hill one, but the adaptation of "You're a Mean One" in this, I don't like it. It feels very insulting on Dr. Seuss's grave. I I don't was he when did Dr. Seuss die?
I don't know. A while ago.
And because I'm curious if he died before this came out. Because if he died, okay, he died in '91, so 9 years before this movie. So he did not approve this movie because I don't. He even if he was alive, he wouldn't have approved it. Yeah, I don't like it. It's very Cat in the Hat live action, which is that's another really bad Dr. Seuss adaptation. But instead of Jim Carrey, it's Mike Myers.
What
Overall,
Dr. Seuss? What
what?
Dr. Seuss movie did Mike Myers make?
Cat in the Hat.
Oh, oh yeah, that was a genuine nightmare to watch.
Yeah, that one's not, that one's worse than this. I will say that. My final rating for the Jim Carrey How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a 2 out of 10. Now let's hear why you like it, because I'm genuinely curious.
All right. Well, I've never taken drugs before, but I imagine watching that movie is what it's like. You you take this substance, you're
Let's
really
start.
You know you're not supposed to enjoy it, but you just do. And you watch the movie, and
It's a
it's
guilty
kind of got
pleasure. Is what you're getting at.
no, not guilty pleasure. I mean, you look at the fantabulous art style and Jim Carrey, who looks like he is in constant pain in every single moment where he's playing the Grinch. And honestly, if you were abandoned by all society, you too would grow bitter and insane, manic to a point where you steal everyone's Christmas presents. I think it does a way better job at representing Seuss's vision on what a mentally depressed and maniacal green man would do if he went to war with all of Christmas. And you
Come
have to
on.
consider the acting from the Who's is superb. They do an excellent job to represent the inbred community, especially with the way their noses are. You cannot tell me otherwise is going on. And let's see what other fantastic things. I don't remember the music at all. I do remember how they teach that having a heart attack on the side of a mountain is how your heart grows. Which, let's be honest,
Hmm.
if your heart grew like 10 sizes, like or however big it got in the original story, you probably would be having a bit of a seizure.
You probably don't
No, it's just
recognize that. You don't remember the music.
no. It's been a few years.
There's a
I
there's a
do
smash
remember
there's a Smash Mouth song in it.
that is just another thing in the movie's favor. Smash Mouth is one of the best bands because they performed in Shrek, which is the greatest movie ever made,
I've still
as
never
we all
seen
know.
it. I mean, I know All Star, but I've never seen Shrek. Which is funny because I was cleaning out my DVDs about a month or so ago, and I actually do have Shrek on DVD. I just maybe I watched as a kid and I don't remember it.
You didn't get rid of it, right?
No, I still have it.
Okay, good. Never get rid of Shrek. You need to see that. It'll open your third eye. It'll enlighten you beyond belief. Anyway, there's also, and just as a kid, it was pretty funny watching the whole thing.
You saw this movie as a
Cheese,
kid.
yes, and as a teenager.
God, I would have found this fucking traumatizing.
It gets better with age.
No, it doesn't. It's
Think about it. It doesn't,
unless you're suffering from dementia, it does not at all.
well, think about it. Everyone who went through COVID, and this is the audience as well, didn't you feel like you were suffering from dementia? I did.
Well, I
And you
felt
know
like I
what?
was suffering. I felt like I was suffering from depression, but carry
Well,
on.
it's just it's that sort of glorious sense of time passing. It's the same one that others feel in society. I mean, just look at Joe Biden, who said he met the guy who made vaccines. No, penicillin. And the year he named the time they met the guy who invented penicillin was 1 year before Biden was born, and also a year after the guy died. So think about it. The most powerful people in our own society can't even remember what the hell is going on. And this movie truly just brings together everything you've ever thought and known and believed all into one. And I'm kind of going on my old man dementia rant, so
No.
I think it's time to stop.
I think this
You know,
movie is absolutely cursed. It is a shitpost of a movie, and
you know,
that's all I got to say about it. I,
in all seriousness, when it comes to me enjoying the movie as like a kid and now, you gotta admit, as like a kid who thinks it's funny, it's just kind of really funny to watch how dumb it is.
I mean,
Not to mention,
I do sometimes get. I see fun in bad movies. I mean, we've experienced that in film class, but this is not it. This is not it at all.
of course, Nick is audience. Nick is obviously just jealous that he could not ever hope to make such a masterful movie.
No, I. This is it's fucking cursed, and I don't want to ever look at it again.
Is that a bad thing, though? Ask yourself that.
Yeah, it's a. How do you rate this movie?
Uh, 7 out of 10. It's not. I think it's yes, it is a dumb movie, but as an entertaining and funny kids movie, I think it works for that.
I mean, there's better kids movies though than this Jim Carrey Grinch. Why
Hey,
not watch the original? What is so
I'm not.
bad about watching the original?
I'm not saying it's unironically better than the original, or that it's just some masterpiece of film that can't be compared to anything else. I'm saying it's a funny movie and I like it. And gosh darn it, it's good at that. Anyway,
It's that's what I think of the Grinch. So I
anyway, enough
suggested a
of
movie to you
anyway,
called
enough of
well, you introduce it.
all right, enough of your poor life decisions. Uh, I have my own poor life decisions I need to talk about, and
Okay.
I tried to convince Nick not to make me watch this movie because I heard of it. I was like, "Hey Nick, you live in a house full of people, can you not?" I did not get spared any mercy though, and I was forced to watch Eyes Wide Shut, which who's the Bruce Wayne actor? Like, isn't the main guy
What?
the main character in the movie is played by a guy who used to play Bruce Wayne
Are you talking
in
about
another
Tom
one of the
Cruise?
yes.
He was not Bruce Wayne ever.
Yeah,
No.
sure about that?
I'm like positive about that. He's
I don't
never
know.
been in he's never been in a superhero movie.
I don't know about that. Anyway, so there's essentially this doctor. Who I'm gonna
Mhm.
name Doc Johnson since I don't remember his name. Anyway, Doc Johnson has his wife. They go to some parties and there's some weirdos. But then one of their friends there, essentially, it's a lot of meandering where he ends up going to this weird sex party, which is a secret society, and then they kill people, and then
Well, they don't, so they do not kill people.
yeah, they did. I'll get to that prostitute, the dead prostitute thing later. But then
Yeah.
after it, they essentially stalk, threaten, and gaslight him about the whole thing. And then there's a mask on the wife's bed, and he says, "I'll tell you everything." And they go Barbie shopping, and God, it's just I'm not giving a good summary of this. I
No.
thought it was
They're, I mean, you're leaving some stuff out, but I mean, that's, I guess, kind of the general gist.
yeah.
I would also mention the fact that the whole reason he ends up kind of going to the sex party is or brothel or whatever is because his wife. Well, so both him and his wife start smoking weed, and she goes on a ramble about how she had a dream about an affair, and the affair is haunting him, and that's how he ends up somehow getting to this uh, sex cult.
It gets introduced by this one friend
Hmm.
who's like, "Oh yeah, I have the password. It's Fidelio or some
Yeah, that's the password.
Greco-Latin crap." And the best way I describe this movie is it's very long at 2.5 hours, and it's very gross.
I will say
And
that it is a little. I mean, I will say it's towards like the last third of the movie. It does get a little long. Um, I guess that'd be my only complaint about it. What do you mean by gross?
I'm talking like the center third of the movie. Well, is about a sex cult where they're constantly screwing each other and murdering each other and doing this weird
They don't.
satanic esque crap.
They don't
And
murder
then
each other.
there, yeah, I'll get to that murdered prostitute. Then there's that part where the tailor, who the daughter is underage but tries to have sex with two
Yeah,
grown, I think
that's like the only part that maybe should have been left on the cutting room floor. I don't know what Kubrick was thinking about that.
and that part is just disgusting and horrifying. And then it gets even worse when Doc Johnson comes back and is and the two guys aren't arrested. And then the dad's like, "Oh, we made an arrangement," and it's insinuated he basically sold his daughter out for that, and she wanted it, which is just creepy as hell, and the daughter is constantly giving Doc Johnson the goo eyes, despite the
Yeah,
fact
it's
she's
like
like 16 or something.
that. I will absolutely agree. That part's a little weird for
And
me.
then it's the constant dreams of his wife cheating on a random guy, and the two of them arguing with each other, and this one creepy guy hitting on the wife. The whole thing is just gross, is the best way I can put it. Everyone here is just involved in some creepy sex stuff, or some creepy cult stuff, or is cheating on each other, or can't just emotionally keep it together like an adult
Well,
for like 5 seconds.
nobody actually cheated on each other. It was just well, almost. There was almost no cheating on each other, but it was mainly
Didn't
just one vision.
didn't he go and have sex with that prostitute who later on got killed?
No,
So he didn't have sex with. All right, I
because
must have gotten that.
because the first time he meets the prostitute was at the party who overdosed on a speedball, and then they met up again at the cult, and I then she ended up overdosing again, and that's when they met at the morgue or whatever.
Yeah,
So can I explain why I like the movie?
sure.
So this was one of the first movies I watched at the beginning of the pandemic. And the pandemic was a little, rough. So, and I just happened to be scrolling through the guide, and I was trying to watch as many of Kubrick's movies. And I noticed that one channel was airing both Eyes Wide Shut and Clockwork Orange. Of course, I hate a Clockwork Orange. It's stupid. But I watched Eyes Wide Shut, and I was so just glued to it the whole time. Like I hadn't yet gotten into my surreal phase of my life. I had yet to discover any David Lynch movies. So this was at the time the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. And I just couldn't stop watching it because it was just so bizarre that I loved it. And I still do love it. I've seen it like two more times since then, and I love it. It's I mean, um have you seen some of Kubrick's movies?
What movies did he make? Because
The Shining, Full Metal Jacket,
uh,
2001.
no, I have not seen a lot of his movies.
We'll change that one day. So fuck, where was I going with this? Um, where was I going with this?
You're gonna get me to watch some Kubrick movies?
Yeah, I was trying to get to watch this bunch of Kubrick movies, and like I love The Shining. The Shining's a 10 out of 10 movie for me. Full Metal Jacket's fine, but this one I think is my favorite of his because even though I love The Shining, it's got a lot of great parts in it. I love psychological horror. This movie is just so different. And while yes, it does have some issues, like I said, the last third of the movie gets a little long. Um, the music is fine. I think in some parts it works, but in other parts it doesn't. I just love this movie. I fucking love it. It's a Christmas movie, which is even better.
Is it really?
Okay, it's like saying Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Yes, but Die Hard is like has a happy ending. This
Well,
one is
Christmas
just
not all movies have to have happy endings.
yeah, but Christmas isn't really a season where you think of Santa getting guillotined by a sex cult or something like that.
Santa
No,
does not appear in this movie.
I know. Then how is it a Christmas movie?
There's Christmas trees, there's Christmas lights. It takes place like a couple days before Christmas. The end scene is their Christmas shopping is the final scene at like Kmart or whatever the store is. Um, it's also Kubrick's last movie too. He died before the movie came out. which is
And
another interesting part.
apparently the point of this movie was Kubrick wanted to expose what he saw while working in Hollywood, which I think that might explain why there's a bunch of the more gross stuff that seemingly doesn't add much to the film. My guess is he had some experience like that, and since it was his last movie, he was like, okay, I have to put this in no matter what. And
Well,
if any, if this movie is like 10% true, we should probably just hit Hollywood with an orbital nuclear strike because
I mean, what I get out of the movie is there's actually like I mean, there's a lot of things that happen, but there is a very simple story at the end of the day, and it's about a turbulent relationship. And that's what I like about it.
yeah.
I give the
So
movie a 10 out of 10, believe it or not.
yes, but what's going on with the creepy cult sex stuff? I mean, that's the main part of the movie, no matter how artistic you think it gets.
When I first saw it, I could not believe what I was seeing. Again, like beginning of pandemic, I was the pandemic is when I first started like getting really into movies too. So this did not help me at all. Um, and just watching the whole sex cult play out was just, it felt like a fever dream. Like we were talking about the Grinch. This was my fever dream.
Yeah.
Um, it was, I mean, I'm not religious like you are. I don't care about seeing sex or anything. Sex is a part of life. Deal with it. I don't find
Well,
anything unnatural about it.
there's a difference.
Maybe the fact that it's a ritual, maybe, but
I'm not saying that sex isn't a natural part of life or that it needs to be censored. Everything, no matter what. I'm saying, let's be honest here. What's depicted in this movie isn't a bunch of normal adults having relationships with each other. It's a bunch of black robed cultists having
mm,
sex with each other and then murdering people for a sacrifice. And before you
yeah,
say anything
sacrifice.
about them not killing the lady, I want to keep in mind something because while I found a lot of the movie dull, the one part I actually really liked in terms of dialogue was at the end, where it turns out one of his friends who was playing pool when he's at his mansion is in on the whole cult.
Yeah,
Now,
I loved that scene. That's a good scene.
yeah, and if I'm remembering this correctly, the two of them are talking, and the guy
Hmm.
is basically trying to gaslight him about the whole, oh no, nothing went wrong. And while at the same time being like, you should have never been there. He didn't die. He just went to Seattle and all that stuff. And then when they mentioned the prostitute, how she was found, they were mentioning at the party she was going to act as a sacrifice. And then she wanted to save the guy, so she volunteered herself. Then the very next day, she turns up dead. And then he says, "Oh no, it was a overdose. They found her in her apartment." And they mentioned the thing that tips you off to let you know they actually murdered her was something about the lock on the door of her apartment. And I don't remember what he said, but I think what he said was, "Oh, the police got a call. They found her dead in the apartment with the door locked of an overdose." When the guy walked in and talked to her roommate earlier, she mentioned how the door was unlocked the entire time, meaning that someone would have had to either the guy is lying about the door being locked, or someone would have had to come in and lock it and place her inside of there, which would
Interesting.
mean yeah. Then again, I'm not remembering that scene entirely correctly, but I will hand it to Kubrick. While I thought a lot of this movie was dull. That one part where they let you know extremely subtly that they were in on the murder, I think that was like 10 out of 10 writing in that one scene.
Yeah. I
Ugh.
I don't know. I guess I've never. I assumed that it was just because at the beginning of the movie she overdoses on a speedball, so I'd assume it was just another overdose. But I guess yeah, there is mention of the sacrifice at the end of the sex cult scene, so it is possible.
Yeah. Well, I don't exactly imagine the sex cult would be short on drugs.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So
How do
yeah.
you rate it?
Uh, to be honest, I'd more give it a 3 out of 10. And I know you really love this movie, but for me, it is absurdly long. There are constant, and it feels like way too much of the movie is just very dull compared to how little plot is getting fit in. Like they have a party where the wife, like they smoke weed or have an argument, and there's like multiple multi-minute scenes throughout the entire movie where the guy is either driving a car or being driven through a car. He's staring, and he has like a 15, 20, 30 minute hallucination where his wife is getting banged by some sailor.
Yeah, but
And then the movie
it's
is
like a
just,
couple seconds. It's a couple seconds.
yeah, but it happens multiple times in the same movie,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
like,
fair.
and it's the same creepy piano music through the entire movie. And then it's like almost an hour in the creepy sex place where there's very long scenes of him walking around, other people banging, being quiet, and there's a lot of this, like you know how I mentioned the one scene where they let you know that the cult actually murdered the lady. That scene was
Hmm.
like 10 minutes, and the whole thing was just one conversation. And that film, that part made use of its time in a very effective manner. It feels to me like a. I think this movie was more made of Kubrick seeing a bunch of this creepy shit while working in Hollywood and wanting to try and like warn people rather than being an actually thought out movie. I think the message went
Where did
ahead of the
you
plot.
where did you read that it was about Hollywood?
I googled it online, and apparently Kubrick said this was based off his experiences of what he saw in the film industry. And I think with the problem with this movie is the message got ahead of the plot, which I don't. I know you like this movie. It's just it felt very
Fine.
creepy, very long.
I mean, I'm not gonna. Like I said, I've said that there's a couple things wrong with it. I'm not gonna be one of those people that's like, how dare you say such a thing? But it's fine. I don't. It's not your thing. It's fine. But
Yeah.
we had a good discussion about it.
Yes, that at the very least
Yeah.
of our
Um,
terrible life decisions with movies.
I will say that Eyes Wide Shut is in my top four favorites on Letterbox. So again, it's your cup of tea, I guess, or my cup of tea.
I
Okay.
I used to Yeah, I used to have a Google Doc of my favorite films. I've watched a lot of different stuff, so I'm probably gonna have to remake that. Which
Letterbox.
I don't
Yeah,
have.
you have a. I think we made you a Letterbox account.
Well, I don't really remember much about that. I kind of just liked call me a luddite, but I just like using Google Docs because I'm not very good at technology. Not to
That's fair.
mention, it's kind of like how you're supposed to have 20 trillion different passwords, but since no one can ever remember that many, everyone just has like one or three at max. They reuse in every account. It's like that with me in Google Docs. So
Fair. That's fair.
yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
What news we got to talk about?
all right. I have patched together the list. All right. All right. We got Avatar 2, The Way of Water. Have you been keeping
Yeah.
up with this movie?
I have heard that it is not doing that well at the box office, but that is the extent of my knowledge.
I've been getting a lot of conflicting numbers on how much movie money this movie's making, and by conflicting I mean $600 million discrepancy. Either it's $855 million, or oh no, it's 253 million at the domestic box office and 600 million in the foreign box office. So let's
Right
just round
now,
that to.
right now it's at 955 million.
All right, so oh yeah, the headlines are from like a few days ago. Anyway, all right, it's $900 million. Now I'll hand it to the people on the movie. I am genuinely astonished they made that much money off of this movie
Yeah,
because
it's
I
it's
didn't.
made it's made it's made back its budget.
No, they spent $2 billion, remember?
No, it's they need 2 billion to break even. The budget was like 460 million, but they need two
How much
billion to like
how much money did they spend in advertising then?
that I do not know. Let me see. Um, have you seen Avatar 2?
From what I heard, it's 3.5 hours long, and the reviews are not stellar. So
Yeah.
no.
I have no interest in watching it either. Especially since you complained Eyes Wide Shut was too long. I think this would definitely be too long. Especially when the original Avatar is also too long.
Yeah. Anyway, thankfully, I have used my epic movie review skills to look up some reviews on the plot, and woo, it's a doozy.
Really?
Apparently, all right. Now, people, spoilers, but it's Avatar
What?
2. You should have just watched Pocahontas 2, the direct-to-DVD sequel. It's more interesting, trust me. Not good, but interesting, you know?
Mhm.
Anyway, so Avatar 2's plot is essentially I don't remember the main guy's name, so I'll call him Jake after Jake Paul. Jake
His name
had,
is actually Jake. His name is actually Jake.
I guess I'm psychic now, and then he has his blue cat girl wife. I'm going to name Dave. Jake and Dave had some kids, and one positive I will give to the movie is it seems like it really puts on the emphasis of the importance of fatherhood and a positive depiction of a father as a protector of the family. And Jake isn't, well, Jake's not a dingus. He does care about his family. And I appreciate that in a movie, especially when any interview from James Cameron nowadays is like, testosterone is a poison. You got to work it. He's gone, he's basically taken the feminazi pill, essentially. So I was surprised to see that in the movie, despite Cameron's political leanings. And so they have their little home with the tribe, but then humanity returns to get unobtainium, which, yes, is still the name of the resource. No. You see, Earth is dying, so they start setting up cities on the Navi homeworld, despite the fact it was mentioned they had
Pandora.
other colonies. Yeah, Pandora. So why would you resettle humans on a planet, on the one planet they can't breathe air?
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yep, and they have to flee despite the fact they won last time, and they go to
It's
this
also
water
worth
tribe place.
it's also worth noting that James Cameron hasn't been highly received in terms of his writing.
I'm not that shocked at that. If Avatar is the best one he has to go off of,
That'd be Terminator 2.
okay, then he just went incredibly downhill.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when they get to the water tribe place, there is I shit you not, 90 minutes apparently of the movie where it is just every trope from the new town moving into the new family moving into the town in every single sitcom you've ever seen. The father struggles to help his children through school. His son gets bullied, but then he finds a local sports team he does excellently in, and all of a sudden they all respect him. You know, the daughter has some social drama, likes one of the boys. You know, they have coming of age rituals and all that stuff. And it's keep in mind,
That's
this
really
is
what the reviews are
90 minutes.
saying.
Yes, dead serious. 90 minutes of the movie is dedicated to that, and it's 3.5 hours long. So just imagine what they could have done if they cut that out. Anyway, eventually, however, the bad guy from the first movie, they somehow resurrect him, despite the fact he got turned into a pincushion of arrows in the first one. And the way they do this is he downloaded his memories into a computer, and then they used the computer to inject it into the body of the blue cat people. And then you have this very racist blue cat clone of himself, who now is the exact same villain from the last movie, trying to kill the exact same blue people, just with a lot more water. And then,
There,
And then get this, the blue people win again.
There is no way I would watch this movie.
Yeah, not to mention it never seems to acknowledge for some reason the fact that the reason humans are there is because Earth is dying and humans need another home. But it still goes on with the message of humans are all just greedy exploiters of nature, should be stopped at all costs, and don't
But
feel
I
bad
mean,
about killing them.
I mean, human nature. That's true, but
Well, I'm not saying humans are universally great for nature and aren't jackasses some of the time. But
yeah,
the thing in the first movie is, why were humans on Pandora? It was because they wanted the stupid unobtainium and wanted to blow up the people's tree over that. And despite
yeah.
how black and white I think the movie made its message and how they should have handled it a bit with a bit more nuance, in that conflict, at least you can understand the whole Navi's position of no, we don't want you guys around here to kill us all. In this movie, they're saying that humanity will die if they don't get this planet. It's not like the previous one where they're just doing it to get greedy, to be greedy, and steal the precious unobtainium from the thick tree the Navi all live in.
Yep.
Yeah, and one little thing I'd like to note for the lore is that big tree in Pandora?
Mm-hmm.
It's sentient hive mind. It connects to all the Navi, and they use those braid things to connect to stuff like horses and sea water animals and that stuff. Well,
Yeah.
apparently, as part of preserving the tree is somewhat self-aware, and to preserve the environment, if it thinks the Navi are getting a bit, above its proper population, their proper population, it will just decide to call them, which is
Mhm.
terrifying, and they never acknowledge that in the movie. Just think
Anyway.
about that for a second. Imagine if every human in the world was connected to a tree, and if that tree just decided that there was too many of us, it could give billions of people a heart attack in the span of a second. That is nightmare fuel kind of stuff, and they never acknowledge that. Like the humans are the bad guys for wanting to blow up the precious big tree, which is enslaving an entire species, and they never talk about that. It's just baffling they made that part of the lore for no reason and never address it.
Avatar is
Anyway,
overrated as fuck. Um,
yeah.
it is sitting at
Any
an 8 out of 10 on IMDb, which is crazy.
Yep. Well,
I mean, it depends
hey,
on what as
don't worry.
well, but
Don't worry. Maybe if we're lucky, it'll reach over $2 billion and actually make a profit, and that we can have Avatar 3, where humans come to Pandora to try and kill the blue people to take their unobtainium, and then they'll have the racist guy come back in another cat body, and then Avatar 4, where the exact same thing happens. And you see the
see where this is going. Did you hear that Avatar 3 is going to be 9 hours long?
that's a joke.
No, there was an article how James Cameron it wants to do all the effects for this 9 hour version of the movie, and that's what he's going to submit, I guess.
You know the problem with making Avatar a series, as far as sci-fi movies go? The problem with making Avatar a series is that the Na'vi, the blue people, they have literally no spaceships since they're a Stone Age society. Well, the humans do. And unless you have some wacky change where something different happens and they get the ability to travel, that means every single Avatar movie really can just be the blue people get invaded by the exact same group of humans and then fight them off. Because if they can't go anywhere and strike back at the human, that's just what's going to happen over and over again. And then when James Cameron is like, I want my 9 hour Avatar 3 movie, it's like, what the hell is going to be different from the previous two? Like, the only difference
He's
between the second and what?
I was just gonna say the problem is there's just these characters are not interesting enough to warrant a 9 hour
Well,
or even longer series.
well, yeah, that granted, but it's kind of like Okay, no, you don't know about Lord of the Rings. Do you remember Last Airbender?
Like very little.
All right, imagine the Last Airbender, except the gang never ever leaves the South Pole. They just stay there for the entire all 4 seasons instead of going out across the entire planet. Like you can
That's
only
sad.
tell so many. Well, yeah, but from a pure, you can only stretch that out for so long until you run out of interesting things. And
Yeah.
with Pandora, well, Avatar,
Yeah.
they reached that a while ago.
They reached it in the first movie.
Yeah,
It's man, James Cameron is dead.
yep. They're just puppeting his demented corpse to make more special effects. Anyway,
Yeah.
enough of
And
that.
even the effects don't even look good. But anyway.
Anyway, enough of my sad old man talk. Let's get on to something more happy. Like Nick, Babylon, you get to speak now, because it came out.
Yeah. Well, I have some bad news. It's not doing very well right now. So the movie came out like a couple days before Christmas, and I actually wanted to go see it like yesterday or today or something. But then I saw the reviews, and now I don't feel that interested in spending my money to see it in a theater. Right now, the
What
movie
is
is sitting. What?
what's going on with reviews?
Right now, the movie is sitting at a 59% on Metascore, which is not that great for, the scale of what Babylon was going for. Box office wise, I think it's doing fine. Um, I mean, obviously, Avatar, I guess, is a bigger name, so of course it's going to make more money. Um, so right now, as we're talking, the box office is a little sad. When the budget was like 80 million and it's only making 6 million right now. Like I said, it just came out, so that could change. But the problem is, if you look at the trailers, if you watch the trailers, it looks like there's going to be something big. Something big is happening. And from what it was being described as before the movie came out, it was supposed to be Chazelle's like, it's a big like Hollywood movie about Hollywood. And it was very like eyes wide shut, Wolf of Wall Street kind of crazy. Because yes, it is a movie kind of about a little sexed up, kind of like Eyes Wide Shut in a way. But it's just not doing well right now, and I don't know if I will go see it or not anymore, which is sad because I was actually looking forward to this movie.
Are the
Um,
reviews mentioning anything specific that might say why it's not doing so well?
um, it's mentioning, well, for one, the movie is 3 hours long, like Avatar, and that is the big criticism is that it's a little long. As well as a lot of people are talking about that the ending is a little like it just kind of goes away and there isn't really like a good ending to it, is from what people are saying. And it's also mentioning like pacing issues, which for me is a bit of an issue because like, pacing issues can like make or break the movie. And if the pacing is that bad where it's being talked about as it is, then I don't know if it's worth it. I will say that it is being praised for the acting, like the score, cinematography is like it's good is getting good reviews, but the actual story is a little disappointing.
Sounds unfortunate.
Yeah, especially since Damien Chazelle's like one of the he made some of like the best movies of the last decade. Like Whiplash is, I mean, it's not my all-time favorite of the last decade, but it's very close. It's such a good movie. And La La Land was fine. First Man was fine. But they all had like a certain charm to them that even if they have like a little bit of faults in them, it's still like worth watching. This sounds like there's a bit of a dip, which is unfortunate because I believe this was his passion project.
Yep.
So,
Well, that's Nick's sad old man rant. Right? They're making
yeah.
another Ant. Just as a quick aside, our Marvel minute, we have Ant-Man and
Why?
the Wasp again. Not two, Ant-Man and the Wasp again. So that's what it is to me. Have you seen
And
any of the Ant-Man movies?
no, because I do not give a fuck about Marvel.
Well, um, just like to mention, well, we had Ant-Man 1, which was a pretty good, despite the fact, it's a simple Marvel movie. I thought it was a good superhero movie. Ant-Man and the Wasp 2, it's very bland, and it only existed for Ant-Man to just disappear for the whole Infinity War debacle. And then you got
Mhm.
Ant-Man and the Wasp 3. It's like, what are you guys gonna do with that?
It's Disney. It's Marvel. They're gonna bullshit some story like they always do.
Yep.
I feel like
Guys, it's
every I feel like every episode we always criticize Disney and Marvel.
well, it's just, a healthy part of life at this point.
I guess.
Yep. Anything
Is
you'd
there
like
like
to
a
add
is there
on
like
that?
is there like a trailer or something to the
Uh,
new one?
yes, I didn't bother to watch it though. I just thought I'd
Okay.
mention it.
All right. Well, that's probably enough anyway.
It's like very
Anyway,
basic.
Mission Impossible.
Uh, Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm not an expert at anything Mission Impossible. I never saw any Mission Impossible movies. I just like to point out that it's called Mission Impossible, and there's been seven of them at this point. How impossible is this mission?
It's kind of James Bondy where there's always something different in each movie. I mean,
I
have you
know,
seen
but
James Bond?
I not really know. I
Oh my
know the gist where it's
god.
like British man and hot lady shoot bald evil man trying to extort the world for
Okay,
$1
okay,
million
well, okay,
dollars.
well, okay. Think about this. This is the American version, and it's played by the same guy in Eyes Wide Shut.
Hmm, interesting.
Um, it's also worth noting that the Mission Impossible 7 is called Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. That's a good sign.
So that's not a good sign. It's a dumb title.
That's a great sign.
No, it isn't. It's like,
I should also mention I've only ever seen the first one. I don't care enough to see the other ones.
yeah,
I just don't like Tom Cruise that much. Like the Eyes Wide Shut and The Outsiders. That's it.
well, wait, The Outsiders is the one where they have the greasers and the socials, right? That movie? You read the book on it?
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, yeah, those were the good old days.
That was a good movie
Anyway,
too.
mhm. Yeah, just thought it was fun. Right. Let's see. They're making a live action Barbie movie.
Oh, you're just gonna skip over Oppenheimer?
I figured we'd go back to Oppenheimer
Okay.
because I don't remember the guy who's making that, but I just remember he's very
Christopher
famous.
Nolan. That's Christopher
Right.
Nolan.
Oh yeah, Christopher Nolan. So I think it's pretty cool because Nolan he made Inception and what other movies did Nolan make?
Dark Knight, Memento, Interstellar,
Yeah.
Dunkirk.
I think Christopher Nolan is great at making big movies, but I think part of the problem he has is that he's not very good at making when he doesn't structure his movies well, he makes some of the most confusing stuff. Like, have you ever seen the movie Tenet?
Yeah, and it sucks.
I remember being at a friend's house at church group. And it was a sleepover. So,
Hmm.
but I was tired out of my mind, and the only because it was like 1 a.m. The only thing keeping me awake was cherry Coke,
And you were
just
tired
from
at 1 a.m.
yeah, the
Man,
caffeine was the only
you
thing keeping me awake.
you didn't do show choir, and it shows.
Yeah, because I have a life. Anyway, I leaned back.
Hey, I did something
I
I
clo-
loved.
I
But anyway,
closed my eyes, and I swear to God, it was like I was. It felt to me like I was blinking. I blinked. I like closed my eyes. The movie was halfway through, and when I opened them, the movie was over. I fell asleep halfway, and it scared the crap out of me because to me it went over in like an instant. Yeah.
well, to
Anyway,
be fair, you didn't miss anything. You missed nothing. Um,
my
I don't know.
my 3 a.m.
My only favorite movie of his is Memento. I don't care for The Dark Knight. I don't care about Inception or Tenet very much. Um, and so Oppenheimer is about the guy who made the atom bomb, I believe. Is that right?
Yep,
And
one of the
apparently
people involved.
there's an article about how he recreated like the effect of the atom bomb using only practical effects,
How does that work?
which is terrifying.
I don't
Um,
want to know what kind of friends Nolan has.
that's a little terrifying, but that
We
sounds
recreate
interesting.
we, we recreated the nuclear bomb using only practical effects.
Yeah, because the
We have
article
very
said
good.
there is no CGI apparently in it, so that's terrifying.
They
Um,
must have very good friends in the DPRK. Who knew Kim Jong Un was such a big Inception fan?
anyway, I don't know. I think the will be interesting. I don't know. He usually does some decent stuff, except for Tenet, where he kind of fell. But maybe this is. I mean, this is his first movie away from Warner Brothers. He went to Universal, so who knows how good that will be.
What? Did he make Snowpiercer?
No, that was Bong Joon Ho.
Oh, yeah. We'll have to talk about that movie later because that's another good one. But yeah, that one definitely felt like a bit of a Nolan movie. Anyway,
Maybe
that
he
one
was
aside.
inspired by it. Maybe he was inspired by it.
I mean,
I
that
mean,
wouldn't surprise me.
he's also the
But
guy that made Parasite, so he is
yeah,
quite interesting.
Parasite.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the best picture from 2019.
yeah, I remember. Well, we'll have to bring the. I guess we're gonna have to bring the movie up again. But I remember how the. I remember Parasite being quite funny to me. I didn't see the movie, but it's like you had Joker coming in, had a massive box office return
What?
and extreme public praise. No, Joker and Parasite came out in the exact same year. And
Yeah,
if you
that's right.
remember, do
Yeah,
you
that's right.
remember the media hysteria they were making up
The
for
Joker?
Joker
Yeah, yeah,
and how they were making 10 trillion articles about someone is going to shoot up the Joker movie? And it got
yeah.
to the point where
I heard
people
about
were
that.
saying they were trying to have it happen. And then
Yeah,
after it comes out, all of a sudden, some random Korean movie called Parasite, criticizing rich people, gets um, which is also competing against Joker, comes out of nowhere and then ends up getting voted over Joker at every single award. It's like is Parasite that good? Because it kind of seems to me like they were like, crap, we can't give it that many awards. We spent the
Mm,
past year saying it was going to cause a mass shooting. Oh, Korean movie.
I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think it is genuinely a good movie. I haven't seen it in a long time since like it came out, but I mean, from what I remember, it was good. Better than Joker? Yeah, probably. It's more original than the Joker.
I don't care. Chuck is better. Anyway, my bias aside, back to Oppenheimer. However you say it. Yeah,
Oppenheimer.
yeah. How do you think the movie's going to be done? Because part of the thing I take issue with a lot of how we view the people who made the nuclear bombs is no one ever seems to bring up the or mention the fact, oh yeah, they made like the deadliest weapons in human history, which could kill us at almost all of us at any given second now. But I just find it bizarre how Einstein and Oppenheimer never catch any criticism, apparently outside of like Japan, over that.
Oh well, I mean, I guess it's hard telling, but I don't know. I'm guessing Nolan will mention something about that.
Well,
Or
with that, it's like Oppenheimer, unlike Einstein, Oppenheimer seemed to really regret what he did and was like, he mentioned, now I have become God, the destroyer of worlds, or no, now I have become death, the destroyer of worlds when it came to that, the use of the atom bomb.
yeah.
So, yeah, yeah,
Um.
I hope they just
Yeah.
bring a bit of criticism on that because, I just think it's kind of a bit deserved in that instance. Anyway,
I'm willing to bet it'll probably be mentioned in some way.
enough sad stuff. On to more sad stuff. Live action Barbie movie is being made.
Oh, I've heard about it. It's really shocking to me how it's taken what? When did Barbie first get invented? Like the
Decades ago,
40s
like, I
or
don't
something?
remember.
Like, how is it just now a Barbie movie is coming out? I don't get that.
Nick, there's been dozens of Barbie.
1959. Okay.
Nick, there's been literally dozens of Barbie movies. This is just the first one that's a live action one.
What?
Yes, look up Barbie movies. My sisters found out those movies existed when they were a toddler, and they bought and watched almost every single one of them. And since I had to keep an
Oh
eye on them,
my
guess
God.
who ended up having to suffer through almost every one of them hundreds of times? It is
Oh
the
my
exact same
God.
blonde chick in every single movie.
Well, you know what? These don't count because they're direct to video. They don't count. Direct to DVD. They don't count.
They do count. They're still movies.
Um,
You mean to tell me you're saying Aladdin 2 or Pocahontas 2 aren't movies to you? Pocahontas
No.
2 is a cinematic masterpiece, I'll tell you.
No. I don't know. But a live action Barbie movie, I mean, whatever. I'm definitely not going to see it. Will Ferrell's in it, I just realized,
Oh,
which is
I-
interesting.
can he say no to like anything?
He's gonna play the CEO of Mattel.
Oh
So
God.
they're cashing in back on that president business.
I don't think that's gonna end well. I don't know. Something about this is just I don't know. It's like looking at
I have a feeling this movie might bomb, which is sad because, Barbie's a big franchise, but I don't
no,
know.
it's not sad. I just want the Barbie movies have tormented me for years and years. At this point, I just want to strangle that company to death so they can't make another one.
So you're biased. You're biased.
I am biased for a very good reason. They have traumatized. Yeah. Not to mention,
I have no experience with Barbie, so.
yeah, don't get any. It's not what you sent me, or what's little is left. But when it
Oh,
comes
I
to
know.
this whole,
Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 had Barbie in it.
it had Barbie in it, but it wasn't a Barbie.
Yeah,
And trust
and
me, very
Ken.
special type of cancer. And let's see, oh yeah, it's just you. It's like watching the Titanic part from the docks on the shores of Ireland. You don't really, when you first see it leave, you don't have any definitive reason or proof to see it's going to be a disaster, but you can get this gut feeling that something just has to go wrong. That's what I have when I hear the sentence live action Barbie movie.
I don't know. It's actually I'm shocked that it's not a Disney thing. That's surprising. It's Warner Brothers. But anyway, I got nothing to say about Barbie.
Anyway, so they're making Creed 3.
Okay, so you and I have seen Rocky 4.
Yes, a masterpiece of movies. We all agree.
Shut the fuck up.
No,
Is it's really stupid. It's just a
it,
stupid movie.
it has a robot butler. It was of happier times.
It was one of okay, let's just talk about film class a second. Do you agree that that was the weirdest movie to pick?
Yeah,
Like that,
yeah, it
I don't know
was.
why we watched that movie. Especially Rocky 4. Like random sequel for some reason. But anyway, uh,
Look,
I've seen the
teacher
first one,
knew.
it's fine.
Teacher just knew we had to see true masterpiece. It is Rocky 4.
Well, no, the only masterpiece was The Graduate. God, The
Yeah.
Graduate was so good. Anyway,
Oh,
Creed
yeah.
3.
Yep. They're
What?
making Rocky. They're making it's essentially Rocky again, but with the kid of Apollo, who was one of the protagonists in Rocky 4, and I think he was the main antagonist of Rocky 1, if I'm remembering this right.
Probably. This is the first Rocky movie to not have Sylvester Stallone in it, involved or anything.
How old is Sylvester Stallone at this point?
Let me see. I th- Probably in his he's 76. But I mean, in the Creed movies, he was like a trainer. He wasn't actually boxing in the Creed movies.
I know I don't have anything against Sylvester Stallone. It's just at a certain point, you probably should just, sip the martinis on the beach and enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
think I think Stallone hit that point a while ago.
Oh yeah, definitely. The last like actual Rocky movie was 2006. And that was before Creed was 2013, I think. Um, so that could have been his stopping point, but nope. Plus, he has Rambo, so that's another franchise that he's wrapped up in.
I don't have anything against Creed. It's just thought I'd mention it since
Yeah,
it's technically like the sequel series to the Rocky series, and there was how many movies did the Rocky series end up with?
this is the ninth of the Rocky franchise.
Are you saying Creed 3 is the ninth of the Rocky franchise, or there's been nine Rocky movies?
The franchise, the whole franchise, and overall.
Oh, that, how many times can Rocky just beat up a random foreigner
Well,
in
I
the
mean,
mainstream?
again, there were only six actual Rocky movies, and only like two of them were good. And spoiler alert, it is not Rocky 4. Rocky 4 can die.
We will
Um,
convince you someday.
by the way, because since you like Rocky 4, there is a director's cut that came out like a year or two ago of Rocky 4.
Did he?
Yeah, because Sylvester Stallone directed Rocky 4, so he made a director's cut
It's so random.
in like 2000. I think it was either 2020 or 2021. randomly. Yeah, Rocky
Seems like
Four
a
is such a stupid movie.
well, it's just a very odd choice of timing to make a sequel to Rocky. But no, to make a director's cut of Rocky 4 in 2021, like
Yeah, I agree.
years and years after the movie came out.
Yeah, because it came out in '85. So yeah, that's I don't know. He must have needed a paycheck, I guess.
I mean, the task of bringing Rocky 4 to an even bigger screen, it's not really a thing agreed. It's just something, a pure passion, you know?
James
Anyway,
Brown in it. It has James Brown in it. He does not belong in that movie.
I
And he
don't know
sings
who James.
Living in America for some reason.
Well, we have to get our generic 80s song. How else would we
I
live?
know, I know. Well, that's why Eye of the Tiger was in it. But
Who doesn't like Eye of the Tiger? It's the best song ever made, short of All Star by Smash Mouth. Almost got that the other way around.
it's fucking Rocky Four. Anyway, um, Megan.
Yep. Have you seen the trailer for that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I had to think about it. Yeah, I do remember seeing the trailer. And it's the doll. It's or like it's robot doll or something.
Mhm. I designed Megan so that my daughter wouldn't feel alone. It also ends up murdering people, which is kind of weird since, the three laws of robotics is supposed to be one of them is don't kill people. So
I
then again,
the only thing I have to say about it is that there is a whole franchise of killer doll movies that already exists called Child's Play. There does not need to be any more doll movies.
actually, well, I saw the trailer and it looks so dumb, it's funny. So,
Yeah,
not
that's
so
Smile too. Smile is fucking awful. Did I tell you about when I watched Smile?
you finally watched Smile. What'd you think?
Well, hold on. Well, we watched this with in college with it was the end of the semester. We decided to watch a movie, and they were like, "Oh, let's watch Smile," and it's like, "Okay, fine." Oh my fucking god, it is so bad. I
I
couldn't believe it. Like I laughed at every like serious quote unquote moment in the movie. Like I could not take it serious at all. It was really funny. Um,
mean, what
did
did you
you like
think
it?
was so fun?
Didn't you like it?
Yeah, yeah, I did like it. I also
Well, for
saw.
me, I don't know. It's just the idea of about these people that have like just randomly smile and they just get like cursed or whatever. That that concept exists. It's truth or dare. And
Yes, Truth or Dare is bad.
neither of those movies are good. Um, then there's the fact that um, she's like, was it killing people? I think it was, and it's like nobody believes her. Am I right about that?
She discovers this whole demon thing is making people kill themselves and by traumatizing others, and then no one believes her because it just makes her go more and more insane.
She the
And
one doing the
so
killing? I don't. That's what I'm remember. I'm trying to remember. Is she the one that's being possessed to kill?
she's the one who gets possessed to kill herself.
Okay,
She doesn't.
that movie exists. It's called Candyman. Came out in 1992. It's actually a good movie. And it's about this woman who also works in I believe it's like a university like medical area. And there's like this myth in Chicago called Candyman, where if you say his name in front of a mirror or whatever, he comes to life. It's a stupid plot. But the idea is that this Candyman is possessing her to kill people. And so she does kill people, and she tries to say, "Oh, I was possessed by Candyman," or well, no, she says that Candyman killed them, but nobody believes her. And that is Smile. That was the only thing I could think of is I've seen this before.
You mean to tell me a judge didn't accept possession by a Chicago ghost as an actual legal defense? What is the state of this country?
I know, right? Um, but also, it's just the effects weren't really that great. There was a lot of like weird like camera angles, like the camera's like spinning around like it's a fucking Nolan movie. It
As it
was,
goes upside down for some reason.
yeah, it's very like Inception. Like, what I'm getting at is not a single person in our class liked the movie, and we all wanted our time back.
I could have been there. I could have been the obnoxious contrarian. That's what I do best at.
Well, we did that in film class back in high school. This wasn't a film
What was,
class. This was just it was just the end of the semester and we had nothing to do.
what was the one with the three ladies who like kidnapped their boss?
9 to 5. That was a fun movie.
Oh yeah, we should do one on that
Oh
sometime.
my god, that was a fun movie.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, that's my opinion on Smile. 1 out of 10. Fucking awful. It might be my least favorite movie of the year.
So was it just, in summary, what was it? It was too slow. It was too corny.
Really too corny. I've seen the movie before. Like before I even saw it, I've seen it before. And it's just overall really pretentious. And it's just not written well. It's the other issue. Like even after I saw it, I was thinking I could do something better than this.
Yeah.
So
If you could change one thing about the
again,
movie,
it's my again, it's my opinion. What?
if you could change one thing about the movie, what would you change?
Um, maybe get rid of the smile thing. The actual like smiling. I mean, that's probably my least favorite part of the movie. It's just the concept or the idea of someone just smiling and then just dropping dead is I, I don't like saying this word, but it's actually the most fucking retarded thing I've ever heard in my life. So that's what I would change is get rid of that and do something else with it because it's not working.
Yep. Summary, next problems with the movie.
Yep.
These change filmmakers or else.
1 out of 10. But
Yeah.
I know we had a list of things to talk about, but I just thought of a little topic to discuss. It's the end of the year. What was your favorite movie that came out this year?
What movies did come out this year?
Well, there was Batman, there was Top Gun, there was Elvis, there was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Uh, maybe Everything Everywhere All at Once would be my favorite, I guess.
Hmm. Um,
I mean, there's a
I
couple movies
haven't.
I still want to see, but
All right. I saw a lot, and I'm not remembering it that well on if it came out this year. But I'd say two movies that would probably compete for that. All Quiet on the Western Front, the Netflix one, I wouldn't say it definitively. I think it gets the honorable mention,
okay.
but it does kind of lean in a bit too heavily to the whole, oh, war is horrifying meat grinder, and everything is bad all the time, no hope, and we all die. I still think it's a good movie, and I do understand it's based off the author's actual experience in the war, so I won't criticize it on that angle. I just think it kind of, I
There's
don't
a
know, the film.
there, there's a war movie I should recommend sometime that's kind of goes into the whole anti-war thing. One day, all right, I'll do
And
it.
then there's, if I had to go off the top of my head, it's probably the Batman.
Okay.
Yeah, I just
I
think,
mean, I agree. That was a good movie.
yeah, though yeah, I do think they made a couple of stumbles because the
Yeah,
actors they had,
definitely.
yeah, like with the actors they had for a few of the characters, like say Jim Gordon, was terrible because the guy only walked around with the same bewildered face on, was like, and he also was like, Batman, what are you doing over there? You're not supposed to. When Jim Gordon is garbling his words more than Batman, you know something's up. And then there was, what was it? Actress for Catwoman was more of,
Zoe Kravitz.
yeah, she was more of an angry teenager than Catwoman.
I mean,
So
I don't really care for Zoe Kravitz that much.
yeah, though if I did rewatch the movie recently, and I'll have to say the guy who gets the top acting chops in that one was whoever they had to play the Riddler.
I do not remember.
Neither I don't remember.
Paul Dano, I think, or Dano or something.
Yeah, I don't remember the guy's name, but when he gets onto the screen, the guy does not look intimidating normally, but that guy does such a fantastic job with it. He ends up becoming scary as crap in the scene.
I mean,
So,
he actually looks like an incel.
well, yeah, I think part of the problem is the mask they have for the actual Riddler and all his weird cultists is so goofy looking that it kind of makes him look less threatening. And then you have the actual Riddler when they take his mask off in the prison interrogation, and he is this completely deranged psychopath. I think it actually helps with the shock factor. Doesn't change the fact the mask is dumb. It's just
Yeah.
hats off to that guy. Now, I don't.
Um,
What movie do you think would be best of the year?
well, I think I was going to say what the Batman is, and again, this is just being me again, but I think the Batman is a little derivative of like Seven and Zodiac. But I mean, it is a good movie, but kind like Joker, it has its influences written on its sleeve. But anyway, for my favorites, I would probably say Everything Everywhere All at Once would be my favorite. It's very different. It's very out there, and I mean, it is kind of a multiverse kind of movie. It came out around the same time as fuck, what was it? Doctor Strangelove. But it has a very unique idea, a unique vision to it that it's something that I think I could watch again and I would find it really entertaining because there's constantly like different ideas just bouncing around.
I heard that movie didn't do well at the box office.
It it actually didn't do as bad as I think it probably would have done if it weren't for people talking about it. Like word of mouth, I think kind of saved it a little bit. Let's see. Let's look at. Oh yeah, the budget was 25 million. It made 100 million. Like it did well.
Well,
And
that's good to hear.
for an A24 movie, that's pretty good too. So I would definitely recommend watching it. I think right now it's on Showtime, but I would say that's probably my favorite of the year. There is a couple movies I still want to see. Even though Babylon isn't doing well, I still really want to see it. I still really want to see Tar. I think that it sounds really good. I also really want to see the menu. So
Yeah, my
yeah,
sister won't. My sister has been mentioning that one, so
the
we
menu.
might. Yeah, we might see that.
That's going to be on
But
HBO in a couple of weeks.
hmm,
So maybe in a couple of weeks we can talk about that. Um,
anyway, one movie I forgot to bring up for the list, which I really should have remembered, is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
oh yeah,
Have-
I've heard about that. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't there like
Oh, no.
three Pinocchio movies that came out this year?
I think it was more than that. There's Disney is making their own made their live action Pinocchio remake, where Pinocchio isn't live action. He's just 3D
Oh,
animated, which I
fucking
don't
Disney.
get how studios get to
That's the
get
Lion
away with.
King, though. Lion King did the exact same fucking thing, and it's the worst fucking movie ever made.
Yeah, Pinocchio, live action Pinocchio is not really that better.
Oh
Anyway,
god.
now, unfortunately, people out of a very reactionary discourse said that, hey, Disney's Pinocchio sucked, which it did. They're not wrong about that. They were like, therefore, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is a flawless masterpiece that we should praise to no end.
That is a
With
terrible way of thinking about it.
yes, well, it is a frequent way of thinking about things, especially when it comes to Disney's involvement, and I understand why. But it's did you wait? No, you haven't seen it yet.
I've seen trailers for it,
No.
the Netflix trailer for it.
Now, what I'll say is, I do not think Del Toro did a terrible job on this, and but I'd give the film a 6 out of 10, and not a good one, because you know the meme I sent you was Benito Mussolini executes orders the
Yeah.
execution of Pinocchio is never a sentence I thought I'd utter.
So, yeah.
That summarizes my problems with the movie. It is completely scatterbrained to the nth degree. Now, with the stop motion, I'm glad they put in effort with stop motion, but part of the problem is a lot of the characters in the movie look hideous, mainly the Count,
That's unfortunate.
Mussolini, Pinocchio himself, and then Pinocchio. I don't want to be mean to the kid they had playing Pinocchio, but his voice is genuinely insufferable. And Pinocchio is so annoying throughout the
No,
entire movie. But,
I'm just laughing at calling the kid insufferable.
well, I'm sorry, but he genuinely is. Pinocchio never listens to his dad throughout the entire movie. And since you got this kid with this shrill voice, this whiny, shrill voice, just constantly asking things, why, drives you up a wall. And since it's longer, it's kind of conflicting because they try and develop the relationship between the two a lot more, which leads to the problem where it's kind of the opposite of the magical, whimsical fairy tale of when you Del Toro's like, when you think about it, if you were a carpenter and then all of a sudden this wooden puppet came to life that you made out of your alcoholism over your grieving for your dead son who died in World War One, which, as you can kind of tell, the movie's a bit loaded with plot
Mhm.
points, but it instead of having the beginning like in the original Disney one being the "Oh, hello, my boy, you're alive," it's like demon. Like he acts terrified, tries to shove Pinocchio away, lock him up, and Pinocchio comes in, and you have the town calling him a demon. And then this one member of the secret police comes along and is like, he got hit by a car, but he came back from death. He's not a demon. He's an Italian who can come back from the dead. He has more than one life to give for the fascist fatherland.
That's funny.
And the, God, it's just, yeah. And the original fairy tale took place in 17th century Germany. For some reason, Del Toro moved it to World War II Italy. And when you see a bunch of animated characters doing the fascist salute when greeting Geppetto and Pinocchio,
Uh,
oh God, it is. I don't know why they made that decision, but it just feels incredibly distracting, especially compared to the original story, which is a very simple fairy tale, and
Yeah.
then it had in a bunch of stuff like Pinocchio, the annoying kid. He gets killed after getting hit by a truck. However, for some reason, since he's a wooden boy, he's immortal. And this one underworld lady says that he'll die, but he'll come back later and later, over and over again. And he eventually joins a fashion. He runs away to the circus, where they perform for Benito Mussolini, who doesn't like them and orders them executed. Mussolini in this movie is also like an absolute midget, which, God, I don't want to sound like I'm defending Mussolini or any of the war crimes he did, but I'm just tired of this childish thing movies do, where it's like villain bad, therefore we must make them stupid, therefore we must make them a short, petulant midget. It can never be like, hey, these guys were monsters who killed God knows how many innocent people, and you just I don't I'm not saying depict them with respect. I'm saying depict them as what they were.
Yeah.
But like I don't want to come across as defending the guy. It's just I don't know. It feels like it's supposed the movie's trying to be the ultra complex, ultra deep, ultra intelligent version of Pinocchio, but then it goes for literal Daffy Duck in World War II levels of what it feels like one of those Disney propaganda cartoons for a second.
Oh, God.
Then anyway, so after Mussolini has Pinocchio shot, which I never thought I'd say in my life, he joins a fascist youth camp, which gets, and I swear to God, there's this one scene where they have a paintball match in training. The son of the police officer and Pinocchio, they tie. And when they get to and when they get to the police officer's son, he is smoking. He doesn't like that they had the tie, and he's trying to enforce to me. He says nothing. He slams a gun on the table and slides it to his son. And this is like for a kids movie. This is part of the problem I have. It's supposed to be a kids movie, but you have some genuinely bone-chilling scenes where the dad slides the gun to his son without saying a word. And when his son asks for an explanation, he's like, essentially, there's always winners and losers in this world. Shoot, shoot Pinocchio. It doesn't. And when his son protests, he says it doesn't matter. He'll just come back.
It's
Which
terrifying.
yeah, and he's not wrong on that, since he saw Pinocchio get shot and just come back, and they chucked his corpse in the back of the van and brought him with. But then it's uh,
I mean, that's weird for a
hold up,
kids movie, though.
yeah, the constant references to World War II bombing runs, fascism, landmines, shooting children,
I mean,
child
you might as well.
soldiers.
I mean, you might as well just show your kid like Schindler's List or something.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. The Allies also end up firebombing the entire base where there was the children training, and it never seemed, for some reason, it never acknowledges the fact that that was a war crime right there. It was a base full of children, and they just firebombed it, and no one ever acknowledges that again. Like it's the same problem of where they're trying to be the whole, oh, life has meaning, death is terrible, but life is precious because it has meaning. And then it goes on tangents where it's like, yeah, a whole like base full of kids was like burned alive with shrapnel, but who cares about that? Pinocchio. And then Pinocchio's circus master, for some reason, came back when he comes to and ties him to a cross and tries to burn him at the beach, only to fall off and
Oh my God, like a
stab.
Klans member.
Yeah. However, the monkey shoves him off the cliff because he likes Pinocchio, and then he breaks his neck on a rock on the sea below, while Pinocchio drowns. After Pinocchio comes back from drowning to death, Geppetto is and the cricket are in the center of. They took the whale and they made it this weird, gross other whale, and then. And this is the problem I have with like every Pinocchio movie is they never show Pinocchio line as being bad, because in order to get out, they have to climb out one of the blowholes. So they have Pinocchio lie a few times to get his nose ridiculously long, and they basically, walk across that and escape. So Pinocchio line in the movie actually saved them all. Isn't that the
That is
exact
a
opposite?
terrible message.
That is the exact opposite message of the original story. And
Terrible
granted, I don't
message.
and granted, I don't even think the original did that the best job with that, but at least it was like, hey, be a good kid and don't run off. But this one is like,
Don't
don't
fucking
join a
lie.
fascist.
Yeah.
It's like, don't join a fascist youth camp and get drowned in the ocean.
Don't become a fucking Nazi.
No, it's Italian fascism, not German Nazi.
Oh.
There's a all right. It's all in the semantics, with the epic artistic vision of Pinocchio lies. Anyway, they escape. The whale tries to eat them, but Pinocchio tricks it into swallowing a naval mine, and he presses it, and he blows himself up and kills himself with the naval mine. However, Geppetto is also drowning to death, so he tells the spirit lady that he'll come back, except no more redos on life, no more coming back from it, so he can save Geppetto. So she's like, all right then, and he leaves. He goes and saves Geppetto. They get back on the beach, and it's the monkey, Jiminy Cricket, Geppetto, and Pinocchio, all together and happy. They go back home. They have a happily ever after for 3 minutes. And after 3 minutes, Geppetto lay down to sleep one night, and he didn't wake up in the morning.
Oh my
That's
god.
right. That's right. They have they. I swear to you, I kid you not. 3 minutes after the happy ending for the movie, the Geppetto dies. Then Jiminy Cricket dies, and Pinocchio takes a matchbox, puts Jiminy Cricket's corpse in there, and slides it in there, and carries him in his corpse in his heart. And the monkey, whose name is Spazzatura,
Oh my
which
god.
is murder on. Next time I try and say that, I'll just stab my tongue out because it's such a terrible name. And the monkey dies. So the end of the movie is Pinocchio walking past the graves of all his family members, all alone. And then the movie tries to end on the message of life is precious because it ends, with Pinocchio being all alone. Anyway, that was Del Toro's acid trip of a movie.
Pinocchio. That's
So I think you definitely should watch it because you'd very much enjoy the movie.
oh my god.
I'm not making any of this up as much as I wish I was.
I want to watch it now.
Yeah, it's on
I've,
Netflix, so
I've, I've never even seen the Disney Pinocchio ever, so I
it, it's kind of like it's kind of like Cinderella, Snow White, and Sleeping Beauty. It was like those very old Disney those Disney fairy tale movies where it's very simple. It's not 10 out of 10 stellar, but it's just a good kids movie, essentially. This, I think the problem with this Pinocchio fundamentally is it doesn't have the slightest clue what the hell it wants to be. Because,
adult Pinocchio movie, I guess.
no. They have like seven, I think it's seven different parts. They have seven different songs in there, which are kids' movie
Oh
songs,
no.
essentially. And
Oh
the songs,
no.
the songs of of all the songs, 6 out of 7 of them are god awful, and
Oh
about
no.
half of them are sung by the squeaky voiced Pinocchio child, which just
Oh
makes me hate him even more.
no.
When
Oh,
he's asking about what a chamber pot is while he shoves it on his head. The only song I'd say was actually good was the one where Geppetto and his son Carlo, when they're hanging out at the start of the movie before Carlo dies, which is why he makes Pinocchio, which I think that's one of the only real good parts, the good changes they made. But at the same time, it kind of takes out the fairy tale magic, where instead of Geppetto just being the lonely guy who wanted a son and the fairy just helped him out of nowhere, it's like, okay, his son died in a bombing raid, and the planes weren't even targeting the town. They just wanted to move faster. They just dropped the bomb and killed him on accident. And Geppetto's just a violent alcoholic for a few years, and then he makes Pinocchio in a drunken rage, and then when he meets him, he's like, "Back away, demon!"
This
And not to mention, I think the problem is the kids' movie songs would be obscenely annoying, and the dumb jokes would be annoying to adults. But at the same time, if I had a kid, a young kid, I would not let them watch a movie where it's like, "Oh, Pinocchio was about the base where he was with the child soldiers was blown up. Then he's about to get burned alive. Then a guy snaps his neck on a rock. Then he blows himself up. Then he gets shot by Benito Mussolini."
this is just a
But
shit post of Pinocchio.
yeah, it kind of is. But then again, the movie, I'm not exaggerating with the movie, which is the most incredible part. It just feels all over the place. And it doesn't know what audience it's trying to cater to. And I think the main reason it was able to get away with all this and still being called a masterpiece is kind of with it's the fact that Disney's was so horrendously bad. Everyone just turned to Del Toro's, which I don't think it's a horrible movie because you can clearly tell some parts that they were genuinely trying. I think that this was some. I think this is the reason it was so scatterbrained was I think it was Del Toro's passion project to make Pinocchio. And when you look at any of the clips of him talking about this, the guy seems genuinely invested about and emotional about making this. But I think it's part of the problem you see a few times in movies where it was made more for the film director's personal vision, and no one really sat him down and was like, "Buddy, this don't make any sense."
I feel like that happens a lot, though.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Jar Jar Binks.
Did you know that Jar Jar Binks was supposed to be played by Michael Jackson?
I wish he was. I really wish he was. He'd be an even better actor. Anyway, uh, my mouth is. I can't keep talking this long forever. Which anyway, that was our Pinocchio review. In short, watch it. Nick, please watch it. We need to discuss this next time.
Watch it now.
All right. All right.
Although I don't know, I don't know about the singing though. That's
Trust. That's you know what? That's my film recommend. That's the film I'm recommending to you this time. That's Guillermo Del Toro's
really.
Pinocchio. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you get to recommend yours to me. But before we do that, I want to cover one last thing. The Witcher: Blood Origin. Have you heard of it?
No.
Do you know what The Witcher is?
Uh, I've heard of the series. Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, The Witcher is a Polish fantasy novel series about these magical bounty hunters, essentially named Witchers, who have to hunt all the monsters in these fictional human kingdoms. Witcher TV show is kind of like that, around the same plot. And Witcher: Blood Origin. Now, essentially, there was a massive conflict in the original Witcher show, in which Henry Cavill, the guy who played the main actor, Geralt, uh, was in a constant war over the show with the writers because Netflix hired its essentially the diversity B team to make the show, and they apparently constantly talked about how much they hated the source material because
That's a good start.
it's a Polish novel by a Polish guy that takes place in what is essentially fantasy Poland with renamed countries. So it's basically ethnically entirely Polish people, just with fictional countries in there.
You know.
And they were like, we don't like this, so we want to add diversity. So all the towns, for some reason, are constantly of they had constant race swapping of characters, like constantly, oh, this character with fair skin is now from Africa or something, which gets even more confusing because in the war there's an actual entire continent which is based off of Africa, and they
Mhm.
just instead of focusing on that, which there is an entire 20-hour DLC of Witcher 3 covering that part of the world, they're like, nah, what if we just like made the whole world an ethnic mess, despite the fact you, it didn't really work like that back in the day, since immigration couldn't really happen that much without actual technology. It's like, And then they had their whole war over it. Henry Cavill got sick of them constantly trashing Geralt, the character Geralt, and the source material, so he left. And then they got to make Witcher Blood Origin, which didn't have Henry Cavill's involvement in the writing, and you can tell. You want to know why?
Why?
They said they said that this show was meant to vent their frustrations about the writing, and it has a 7% on I think Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. It's sitting at a 7% with general audiences, so I think you can guess how much of a train wreck it is.
I think that's lower than the Emoji Movie.
You can tell it's made by the same people who just don't understand anything about medieval times because Blood Origin starts off, there's three elven kingdoms fighting, and one of the elven kings wants to marry his sister off to another one and then form an alliance with the third one to bring about peace. Because there's been 1,000 years of war, which, if you know anything about medieval economies, you'll understand how infeasible, just impossible that is to sustain. Like, even nowadays, we have like 20 years of war, and like, nah, sorry, Afghanistan, we're going to leave you for dead. We're bored now. But anyway, but the sister doesn't like this. She doesn't want peace in the realm. So she works with the generals of all three countries and then kills all the leaders there to make an empire to accomplish peace. So, according to the story, all the generals of these kingdoms betrayed their own lords and the people they stood by for decades to work with people they were fighting wars against for decades on end to stage a coup against a government that wanted to establish peace so that they could establish peace. And it is so brain dead. I don't want to go on for too long, but at that one point, it reminds me of this one video game I play called Victoria 2, and it's basically a politics game that takes place in the Victorian era. It's an old game. You know why?
Why?
The rebel system isn't thought out that well. So you can have, if your country is a reactionary dictatorship, you can have reactionary rebels rise up, can then overthrow the reactionary dictatorship to install a new reactionary dictatorship with the exact same policies as the previous one. And this goes the exact same for every single government. That's right. The communist revolution in Britain has overthrown the communist government to install a communist government with the exact same principles as the previous one. It reminds me of that. Anyway,
I mean, I have no interest in it, but
good.
I've never played any of the Witcher games, nor do I really plan to.
If you want to play any of them, just play Witcher 3. Witcher 1 and 2 are kind of like, best way to describe it is the company didn't know what they were doing for the first two since they were newbies. Anyway, that's my game recommendations aside.
What do you play games on, by the way?
I play them on. I have my Xbox. I have my computer for strategy games. I still keep around my 3DS, but I only use that to play Fire Emblem.
No, I haven't.
And
I haven't touched my 3DS in like forever.
Yeah, and then I have. Well, I mooch off my sister's Nintendo Switch so I can play Fire Emblem Three Houses on that.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem is a good series, you troglodyte.
I mean,
What do you have against?
I played Awakening. I don't care about it that much.
Awakening is a masterpiece. How dare you?
Um, I play. I used to have like a lot more systems. I used to be like I used to have a Wii U, and I used to play a 360 and the Xbox One. And now those systems are kind of sitting in my closet. And now I just mainly play my Switch until just recently I bought a Steam Deck.
Steam's ripoff of the Switch?
Yes, but it is in every single way better than the Switch.
You say that, but whenever I look at this, I just get this sense of embarrassment at just watching it.
I play like pretty demanding like Steam games on it.
Maybe, but I don't know. It's kind of like I think some game systems you can technically play them on other consoles. Like nothing stopping me from playing like a shooter on a computer, but
Yeah,
it just doesn't feel right.
because
You
you don't have
know,
the controller. Because you don't have a controller.
yeah, not to mention the screen is tiny and I just find the couch more comfortable. Anyway, that's just my gaming preferences.
There,
I just, and when it goes for most games I play on Steam, like say Crusader Kings or Hearts of Iron, it's like I don't really want to play those games on a console because that just means you can't use the mods, which are a big part of those games.
you
And
can. You can. It's run through Steam. It has its own like browser and all that, so you can get whatever you want for it.
yeah, well, I just didn't want to. Call me a troglodyte, but I just don't want to. Uh, some things just don't feel right. Uh, it's like how they made Resident Evil games for the Wii. Some things just don't work that well.
That's fair. It's a
And
weird combo.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. And there's a quick aside before we probably wrap this up. Have you seen? Have you ever been? Have you been keeping up with Fire Emblem right now?
No,
Oh, well,
not at all.
they're making a new Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Engage,
Oh,
and
for fuck's sake. They just, when did Three Houses come out?
a few years ago, instead of making a mainstream Fire Emblem sequel, they spent their sweet time making a bunch of spin-offs of middling quality.
Oh, they do that all the
And
time with other system or other franchises.
well, yeah, but it's like you complete the I don't know, the average Fire Emblem game, if you stretch it out to the absolute limit, can be like 40 hours. And Three Houses is way longer since there's multiple routes.
Yeah,
But at the same time, it just gets very tedious waiting for like five. I just hate having to wait for like 3 years for a new Fire Emblem game. And then when I look at the news, new Fire Emblem game, it's another spin-off that I don't care about.
that's fair.
And then the next 2 years later,
They did that with Animal Crossing forever.
yeah, my sisters love the new Animal Crossing. I'm not a
Me
Animal
too.
Crossing
It's
fan.
well, man, I could ramble about New Horizons, but that game was a little disappointing. Like it's good and all that, but I played New Leaf like hundreds and hundreds of hours, um, and I just couldn't get as much as I did with New Leaf from New Horizons. Like it got really stale really fast, and they just didn't update it as much as they probably should have.
Yeah. Oh. With what I was going to say with Fire Emblem Engage is that it's kind of a mess because the main evil dragon, which they have in every Fire Emblem, they gave it the head of like an boa constrictor, you know, those kind of like snakes you associate with Egypt
Hmm.
that have the weird flat back head.
Yeah,
And then the main character, their hair, half of it is neon red and the other half is neon blue.
that's
Um,
weird.
it looks like literal toothpaste. And then this apparently they're having a mechanic where they have you can essentially summon characters from previous Fire Emblem games to help you out in this game. It will replace your normal characters on the field. And I don't like the sounds of that at all because it kind of sounds to me like I just want a normal, straight up Fire Emblem game because they are generic fantasy strategy games, but they have good stories that I enjoy. I just want another one of those. And it looks like after waiting another 2 to 3 years, if half the characters are just from previous games, kind of feels like the story is just going to be awful.
I mean, that's fair to say.
Yeah, like half the fun of Fire Emblem stories is the fact that the way the character relationships work, where the more they interact and fight together, the more they like each other, and the more dialogue between them. And depending on how you sort your army out and deploy it, you can have completely different relationships and character dynamics between two different playthroughs. It's very unique. But if half the
Hmm.
characters in this are basically Pokemon, then what exactly is how exactly is that going to work? And it
Particularly, you're not
also
a
there's
Pokemon fan.
no. I don't hate the series. It's just I'm not. I don't gel with that. I'm using it as an example here.
That's
And
fair.
there's also the problem of even if the new characters they add are great, great interactions, great story. If you flood it with, oh look, it's this guy from this game before, and they're all more popular, already established characters, you're gonna risk drowning out the new characters in their own game. So what then? Are you just gonna make another spin-off?
Oh,
Which
I'm
God, I
sure.
hope not. I can't stand any more Fire Emblem spin-offs. They need to get their act together and start making some normal games.
Fire Emblem became such a big franchise really fast. So they have to I guess they have to figure out stuff in between the new games.
I'm not asking for them to never do any spin-off games at all, but could they not just have the
It's
studio
less,
focus on,
less.
yeah, just have the studio focus making normal games that are way larger in scope and better in quality, and then nothing stopping you from like working with a secondary studio on the side in order to make the spin-offs. And
Or like
it's
even DLC too.
yeah, yeah, and part of the problem is apart from Fire Emblem Heroes, the mobile app, which actually that one is pretty good with the stories there, which is very weird. But they really, with the Fire Emblem series, just do one thing after another. And that annoys the hell out of me as a fan because it's the wait time. It's like Marvel fans, as much as we complain about that, they have to, if they like every single one of those movies and shows,
Huh?
you have to wait like 1 month maximum before something new comes out. With a Fire Emblem fan like me, you wait 2 to 3 years after you complete three houses. You love it. You want to see them improve and make a new game, and spin-off. You wait another year, another spin-off you don't really like, and then 2 more years, another spin-off. Then finally, after years of waiting, it's a new main game, and half the characters are from previous games you don't play and you don't care about. And then it's like the
I'm
character
surprised they
has
didn't call it Fire Emblem Four Houses.
sure thing was ass. Yeah. Honestly, I just want them to make a Fire Emblem with more customization and more unique story routes. Just make the graphics better, keep up with the amazing music and storytelling, and maybe get some more unique endings. Like you can make it more of a Game of Thrones kind of scenario in Fire Emblem, where it's a bunch of people fighting for the throne, and you get to choose who you pick, and then you got to fight. And it can be
That would
multiple
work.
endings. That what?
That would work as like a Game of Thrones kind of thing.
Yeah, like when I first heard the trailers for Three Houses, I was very excited because the way they described the game, what I thought the story was essentially you were a professor at this academy who taught the next generation of nobles who were all in one class. And then years later, a civil war breaks out between the three sides, and you have to choose one of your three groups of students on this side of the war. And that'd be very gripping because, 2/3 of the people you're killing are your previous students. And
Hmm.
the way they handled the story was kind of similar, but you're a professor who joins early on, and the classes are based off the different kingdoms and they're completely separate. So if you train the Knights of Fargus, you interact next to nothing with the Knights of Adrestia. And the problem with that is on your first run, when you have to, there's so many story moments where it's like, "Oh no, you killed Petra! How could you?" If you're playing as one of the opposing sides, you get no interaction with those sides unless you recruit them. So the story
Yeah.
doesn't work as well. Yeah, I'm just rambling on it, but it kind of gets to the point where you have to play like 3 or 4 different times to get familiar with all the characters before the story fully clicks with that. And that's just one thing I think they could have done better. Anyway, that's my Fire Emblem rant.
I'm sure you'll find someone that agrees.
Anyway, I think we should wrap this up. Nick, you want to
Mhm.
do the suggestions and outro?
What are you suggesting me?
Guillermo Del Toro's Pinocchio.
I mean, I'll watch it, but I don't know if I'll really have a lot to say about it since you basically said everything about it.
Trust me, you
So,
will have something to say about it.
you sure?
Oh yeah, it's
Mm.
a real interesting movie. Is all I'll say.
Okay.
Anyway,
Um, so for you, um, do you want to watch something crazy or something more normal?
what's the crazy choice?
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, I live in the house with other people, so I'd like to know.
Again, I'm gonna leave it up to you.
All right, give me the crazy.
The movie is from 2001, and it is called, or actually 2002, my mistake. It is called Mulholland Drive.
What is that movie
And,
about?
well, here's the thing. I do not want you to look up anything about it before you see it.
I live in the house with other people, so is it like, can I watch and have someone walk in and not get cut it off the movie go?
There's a little bit of in it, but not as much as Eyes Wide Shut. There's just a little bit.
Hmm. All right.
Again, it'll be a better experience if you do not look anything up before.
Where can I watch this movie?
That is, I am about to send you a link to it because I have it in a special place.
Hmm. It's in Santa's special sack.
Again, it will be interesting.
Yep.
And it is by a
I
director that, and it's by a director that it's a director who is very different. Like
I swear to
he is a bit of a weirdo.
this is Shyamalan.
No, it's not. It's David Lynch.
Okay, I've heard of him before, and it's not in the good way.
Yeah, he's a bit of a if let me put this lightly. If he wasn't a director, he probably would end up being a serial killer.
Interesting.
So yeah, enjoy Mulholland Drive.
All right.
All right.
All right.
That is the end of this episode.
All
Um
right. It was great filming with you, Nick. Great filming with you people. I can't talk much more there. I'm foaming at the mouth. I can't talk much more.
is it
And
because of
I
that
have
burrito?
what?
Is it because of that burrito?
In part, it is still cutting my throat, but at the same time, I can only talk for so long until my throat gives out. Anyway, as fun as this has
Don't
been,
you work at a store? Don't you work at a store? You should be used to talking to people.
I'm not used to talking for 2 hours straight.
That's fair.
It's not
All
that
right.
much demand. All right. So it's been great talking with the people. I have cookies to bake. Have a great day. And Nick, just a question I had: how, when it comes to the editing and publishing of this, does the AI do that automatically, or is that like you?
I do it.
Oh, well, good luck sorting through all this.
It doesn't even take that long. It's just put the two audios on top of each other and then render it out and then
Right.
put it on up.
All right. Make sure to send me the link for that when it comes out because I can't wait to see how this one's turned out. With the Pinocchio and the Fire Emblem rant and then the what is it, the smile. I just can't wait to see it.
Mm,
All right. Anyways, thanks, Nick. Have a great night and
You too.
see you later.
Yep.
This is us.